Welcome to the O Brother Podcast with hosts Dan and Mike Smith, brothers from the same mother with different opinions on movies, TV, video games, and more, plus celebrity interviews. Get ready, get set, it's time for the O Brother Podcast. Welcome to the O Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going there, Frank?
Hey, man. Yeah, I thought maybe, okay, so we've got this, we had some technical difficulties with the microphone and whatnot, so I'm using the Apple earbuds on this episode. So we hope,
Sounds fine
with the
to
magic
me.
of editing and audio mastering that it won't be too difficult on the ears for the listeners.
Yeah, and we send it to the studio and
and they do the mastering.
put it on the 8-track.
Yeah. So I thought, so you said, like, I got this fedora, which was actually Grampy's fedora. This goes way back. This was from some hat maker in Boston. And
Did he wear it like normal?
I don't remember. I feel like I've at least seen photos of him wearing.
When you look at old movies, that's so common.
Right.
For a guy to be wearing a hat today. If you walked around like that, people would be like,
it's also Michael Jackson. I mean, with the Motown, when he throws that was so good, man. But this, I had flipped up the brim, and you said, yeah, it's a little Fatty Arbuckle.
That's Fatty Arbuckle.
For those that know that reference, but we'll bring it down a little Frank action.
He wound up in the prison system, I think.
Fatty Arbuckle?
Yeah. We won't talk about him.
So listen, it is November 21st. When is that a comment I'm going to listen to later?
No, you won't. It's just in my head, Fatty Arbuckle made me laugh.
Fatty Arbuckle, yeah, it's a good reference. So November 21st, 2022, when you get in this episode of the O Brother Podcast. Now we're going to talk about a film. I've been anxious I was anxious to watch it. Yeah, I wanted to check it out. It's called Don't Worry, Darling. This is Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde.
Week.
Yeah, Olivia Wilde, Florence Pugh, Chris Pine is in the film. So we'll get into that in a minute. But before we do, I just got off of jury duty. I went down, I had to report. First time I ever had a report.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is different because, in California, you have to go. There is no, you call.
Yeah.
There's no phone call. You have to go to the courthouse.
Right. And didn't you say, oh no, a guy I work with said that out west, like in Colorado,
mm-hmm.
So I guess it's probably similar, which is when you get the call, you are serving, like you're going to be on a case.
Oh, really?
You just don't know what it is or how long you're going to be held up or whatever. But yeah, so this was more going down only to wait and see if you get picked,
And in California is a one-day, that's all it's a one-day system, which I don't know how that works when you have like a murder trial. Obviously, it's not one day.
Yeah, right.
So there must be some kind of like,
I don't know,
asterisks or something.
Yeah, probably. But it was interesting. It was an interesting experience. I will say they do make it as pleasant and even entertaining at times, as they can, because they know it's a little bit miserable, but it's your civic duty. So I didn't get picked. I was there most of the day. They picked at least 5 panels. One of them had 50 people in it, and I didn't get picked. I thought for sure.
Wow.
They kept calling around my badge number and never got to me. So
that's interesting. They call that many people.
Mm-hmm.
They're expecting voir dire, which is when they do the picking where the lawyers ask questions.
Nice.
They're probably
reference.
They're probably expecting to get rid of a lot.
Mike pulling out his law background.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm glad you said it, because I was going to bring that up to you, because they mentioned that term.
Oh, okay.
In the orientation or whatever, they talk about it. So
but you knew it anyways, right?
No, I didn't remember hearing that. Maybe I came across
it. I guess it's not as common as I thought.
I mean, with going through law school, of course you'd know that. But so it was an interesting experience. I didn't get picked, but you are at some point, you're like, can I just get picked already? Like you want to get picked.
Right.
You
get it over with. Be more interesting.
Right.
Than sitting here.
Yeah, and you get to a certain point in the day where you just that's what you're hoping for. But anyways, I'm a good for a year now, so
Right.
I won't get called again until that time. But other thing I wanted to mention too was we're in the holidays, right? And we're already fast forwarding into Christmas mode. Retail stores
Yeah.
like started that in August, basically.
Yep.
And I was thinking I had to go down and pick up a couple of Amazon packages that got delivered. I was not stalling, but I was kind of hoping they got here before we went on air. And as I was coming back from picking up the packages, I thought, with Amazon, it's like every day can be Christmas. It's like the ease of it, the
Yeah.
convenience of it. It's incredible. But I
It's
ordered.
almost too easy
It's almost too easy.
because you
You're
buy
right.
stuff. Why did I buy this stuffed elephant?
No kidding. In fact, I won't even tell you what it is because I think it's getting delivered tomorrow. So in the next episode, I'll reveal it. So then I got a couple of other things, and this is a little bit more relevant to the podcast. So I got a couple of Funkos, a couple of Funko Pops.
Okay, let's see 'em.
And this is topical because of what you were just watching before we came on air.
Okay.
So this is the K2SO.
Oh, okay.
From Rogue One,
Which
of course has been featured in Andor, the Andor series.
Was it that same model, like it held him up against the wall?
Well, of course, it's interesting you would ask that because I'm a big avid listener of the Rebel Force Radio podcast,
Right?
Which I happen to have their mug today and not ours.
Right.
But shout out to Jimmy and Jason. But they were talking about it, and yeah, the thinking is that it is, but at some point, Cassian Andor renames the model to K2SO. I think it's like K2SU or something in Andor.
Right.
Because they're Imperial droids.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, of course, we come to learn that he basically befriends K2SO in Rogue One.
Right.
And he's working, for the Alliance at that point.
Right.
For the Rebels. So yeah, I think it's the same thing, but that's very cool, isn't it? Now,
and for those not watching Andor that have already clicked over to, Mr. Beast or something else.
Why? Like the reference you pull out is never A, legitimate, or B, anything.
No, I'm surprised you've never heard of Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast, no.
He gives away like money all the time.
So look, this Funko Pop also came with this pin.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was pretty little bonus.
What is it? Is that like
K2SO?
Is it okay? It's a good one. Yeah.
It's a legit pin.
Not bad. A little bonus.
Okay, and then I got this one, which I thought was cool. Luke with
Grogu.
Yeah.
Luke with Grogu.
So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyways, I add those to my collection.
All right.
So we're talking about Don't Worry, Darling. This came out on Bruce Springsteen's birthday, September 23rd, 2022. It just hit streaming on HBO Max November 7th. So it's real fresh in terms of our viewing of it. We've just seen this on HBO Max.
And that's how you get it.
Yeah. And, there was a lot of media, a lot of stories, a lot of controversy.
Not about the movie, unfortunately.
No, but those, not about the movie itself, but the making of the movie, certainly. Because this film originally Shia LaBeouf was going to be in it.
Correct.
And so the story comes out that he's difficult to work with. He's got
that's shocking. I've never heard that before.
You're like passing judgment. You don't know what the reality is.
Well,
every movie, of fact, you don't know that. Stop with the jumping to conclusions. You just like it's the TMZ mentality. You find something where the guy's always cast in a negative light, so you just shit on him automatically.
Well, there's video too. There's video too. So
he apparently, now I haven't seen any of it, so I'm not going to make a claim on either side of the story. And let's not make this an episode about Shia LaBeouf, but he supposedly had video as well.
I love the name LaBeouf. Yeah, but I'm talking from Transformers to,
Okay, this gets into that whole conversation about, dragging things up from like when you're 7 years old and now it's cancel culture, right? So it's again, not separating the individual from the art and all of that kind of debate, which we could go on and on about. I'm just the whole point of that was just to say there was a strife. There was strife between him, Olivia Wilde, Florence
was
Pugh,
directing.
allegedly, right. And he had his story, they had their story, she had her story, saying that he brought a very sort of intense, almost combative atmosphere to the, let me finish,
Okay.
to the production.
Just don't want to forget my thought.
Write it down. I'm on a roll here.
Yeah, go. Keep going.
And so that was her take on it, was that, I'm protecting my cast and crew and
Right.
the integrity of the production, this and that. And, he countered that. And I forget what the argument was.
Forget.
Well, it's the fedora.
I got you.
It's the fedora.
Yeah.
But I don't recall what it was that he was claiming was the issue. But
let's just talk about what you said, separating art from reality. He doesn't do that when he's in a movie because he's a method guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he never breaks character.
Uh-huh.
And for some actors, that's really difficult to deal with, especially if you're playing kind of a jerk, which he wasn't in this case. But if you're playing an awkward character, there's a lot of actors that do it and pull it off great. But he's one that doesn't. I mean, I'm not just talking about transfer. It's movie after movie. There's a reason he's not working. He's a good actor, very good actor. He should be working in more things. We should be seeing him more. We're not, because of the reputation, which, I mean,
sure.
I've seen video of him.
I have rights. I have rights. I'm an American.
Come on, talk to me.
You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir?
Let's go.
Yo, you really got these.
And
combative with police.
Okay, maybe it's warranted. Well, sure. I mean, he's definitely had his time in the sun with the media and the press and everything. But
yeah.
And again, I'm not defending either way here. Just to say that there was issues.
And again, this is just a point you were making.
Yeah,
he was the original.
He was the original, right? And then so he's out of the picture.
He's out. He claims he quit. They claim they fired him. Who cares?
And I'm assuming he was playing Harry Styles' role.
He was.
Role, right?
Yes, okay. He was.
So Harry Styles, but that's just one piece. Now there's also reports that Florence Pugh, and who we know from Black Widow and other movies, that she and Wilde weren't getting along either. On set.
Really?
Yeah, there's reports of that. In fact, to the point where, and anybody that's been following the story would know this, that she did very little press for the film. And what I read was that was part of some agreement that she made that, okay, I'll be in the film, I'll do the movie, I'll continue on whatever the issue was, but I'm not going to go out and, do the circuit and the late night shows and all of that. And she really didn't. I was going
to say that must have been an agreement after filming, because normally that's built in, and normally actors are happy to.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost my recollection was that it might have been during, like she was almost going to pull out, and then they had to sort of, negotiate and compromise and come to this agreement. So then, of course, the other thing that's going on in the periphery is Olivia Wilde's own relationship with Jason Sudeikis.
Correct.
And
which we hear whispers of an affair, which turned out to be true.
Well, I mean, again, that's making a claim that you can't say 100%.
Well,
right?
They're officially a couple now.
Correct. So, but was she cheating? We don't know that. But
I do.
Yeah. And then there's the spitting incident. The alleged
Did you see that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I didn't even see him spit.
It was ridiculous. It probably just said something, and spittle came out or something. They were at what, like one of the film festivals or something?
Yeah, they made it seem like he was like.
I know. And Styles.
To Chris Pine, by the way. Chris Pine.
Chris Pine's like in front of him at this film festival or something, whatever. They make a big to-do about it. So point is, there's all these distractions
Right.
during the making of the film and during the publicity for the film and all of this. So,
And
you
truth
know,
be told, right? You
mhm,
brought this up. This was your pick.
yeah.
And you said, "How about we do this?" I didn't know the title. I didn't know anything about it
Oh, really?
right up until I put it in. In fact,
Mm.
I started playing it. I paused it
To
and
look it
had
up?
to type in Harry Styles to see what the name. I didn't
Oh,
even know. And now, just while you were talking a little while ago, I looked at
mhm.
my phone because I forgot the name again. Don't
Oh,
worry,
even though I
darling.
said it, yeah.
Yeah,
Did you say
because
darling? I caught you.
I said darling.
Don't worry, darling, I think. We need like
Uh,
an accent meter now
yeah, I don't know
or
how
an
that's
accent
gonna work.
counter. Yeah, yeah. We're both slipping. We're tired. So, okay. You haven't done this for a while. So
Right.
can you give us a real brief synopsis of this
Yeah.
film?
I think they call it a psycho thriller.
Psychological thriller, yeah.
Yeah, I would call it a psychological melodrama. That's how I would base it. But it's basically about a couple that moves to Arizona or the desert somewhere,
Yeah, I wasn't
not
quite sure where we
specific
were.
where they
Right,
were.
right.
He takes, a job with this company,
Called Victory.
Victory, and the guys go to work. It's like a 1950s.
It's a would you call it well, they call it the Victory Project.
Mhm.
And as you said, they're basically in this 1950s community.
Correct.
And go ahead, you were starting to pick up with the
And
husbands and
yeah, just to say it's the kind of neighborhood and time where the husband goes off to work, gets a kiss from the
very
wife.
clear gender roles. Yeah.
Yeah, and they show, she goes to cook dinner and clean the tub and
Do all
those
the chores and
and that's kind of the way it is. Although Harry Styles and Florence Pugh have a very active sexual life,
mhm.
which, was part of it. But that's basically the gist of it. I wouldn't,
Yeah, it's
if you want to add to it,
you're right though. That was actually a fairly big part of their storyline.
it was
Because it wasn't the central theme for any of the other characters or their relationships,
correct.
but it was
And
for them.
when you brought up that her and Olivia Wilde, and
Mhm,
it's just kind of, that makes me think that must have been odd for her if
mm,
they were in a relationship,
you're
because
right.
he's constantly making out with
Well,
her.
and at what time and at what point did they come together in real life in a relationship? I don't know. Was it as it wrapped? Was it during?
Right,
Who knows?
right. We
But
don't
I mean, I
know.
don't I don't know that. But so yeah, I was intrigued by that concept. I thought, okay, this sounds interesting. And in the opening, like right from the beginning, visually, it's really stunning. The pastel sort of colors and the 50s lends itself to a lot of that aesthetic, you know.
Yeah,
And so visually, I thought it was really, really appealing. And that's Olivia Wilde. And this is her second film,
yeah. Her sophomore
her
film. For
sophomore outing.
me, I felt it was over directed a lot, starting with what you're talking about.
You could make that argument. Yeah.
That sequence,
Yeah.
we know that sequence from, do you know the film?
Which sequence are you talking about?
The opening sequence where the guys kiss the wife goodbye and then they back out of their
Truman
driveway.
Show?
No, but
Oh.
similar
An old
look.
film?
It's a
Is it a noir film or something?
no.
Oh.
It's
Stepford Wives?
no, he did now I lost my thought because
Yeah. Well,
Edward Scissorhands.
Scissorhands.
That's the film
Oh,
I'm
Tim
thinking of.
Burton. Tim Burton.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
remember the beginning of same
I
neighborhood.
I haven't seen that in so long.
It's almost the same scene, I
Yeah, I haven't seen that in
swear.
so long. Well, okay, so I'm gonna add on to that by saying
Okay.
now I said aesthetically, the film right from the jump, it's very visually appealing,
Yeah,
but this is definitely a movie that looks far better than it is.
I'll
And it,
agree with
and
that.
to your point, it was too much about the directing and not enough about the story.
Sorry.
the writing was really weak.
The writing was terrible.
And here's the thing too. Little character named Joe McDokes. If Anthony or Nicholas can throw that up on the screen for us, a reference to Joe McDokes, because
Behind the eight ball.
I saw this coming a mile away of how this was going to unravel.
I wasn't sure.
You weren't sure.
Exact same feeling.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if you were going to feel the same way.
I did. And now on to the directing comment that you were making. I've seen it. I've seen most of it before. Now it was nice. There were some really clever shots and, again, visually appealing, but Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this in the storyline, quite frankly. I've already seen this play out in Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
A Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's got that vibe. Stepford Wives. Like there's so many, I feel like it's been done before.
Yeah,
There was nothing original about the story.
Directing, it was like, hey, let me show you this trick. Let me show you this trick.
Yeah, I guess
all
I'm a
things
sucker
we've
for that.
seen before.
I'm a sucker for that, I suppose, because I'm just a visual person. So
yeah, but it got to the point where she overdid it.
I agree.
Or you wouldn't be saying that.
I agree with that. I mean, but the composition and the framing of things, and it was all very nice. But it was like a house of cards. It just came tumbling down.
And we're not talking about the movie House of Cards, which was well directed.
Was that a movie? That was a series, wasn't it?
Oh, no, House.
Yeah, that was the series with the an actor that'll go unnamed who's been sort of cast out.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of House of Games.
House of Dragons?
No, House of Games.
Which I'm almost done with, by the way.
It's a Criterion movie, but doesn't matter. Some
decent acting in it, but again, the story was so thin. And I guess to your point, so much over direction, it took away from what might have been a decent movie.
I would say the first hour wasn't terrible.
And what do you make of this?
What a backhanded compliment.
What do you make of this? You're saying the first hour you're in.
The first hour, I felt there was a lot of tension. I liked the music.
I agree with that.
It just made me feel on edge for the first hour.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then the writing they didn't know where they were going. No. It almost felt like they were making up.
You know what it felt like?
Scenes as they went on.
It felt like every book report that I gave in class back in junior high school.
Yeah.
This story was very, 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 very good. And I like this very good story because it was very good. Although
it was a very long, and you just keep using the same word.
You were the one that taught me about, superfluous words in writing. Yes. I'm so aware of that nowadays. And one of them that I'll never forget. And it's difficult though, because I wrestle with it myself these days, is that.
I was going to say, it's going to be
tell the folks about that.
Usually if you read the word that, you can probably cross it out and the sentence will not change one bit. Mm-hmm. And I have to give credit to one of my psych teachers for doing this, because I would get my paper slash. I mean, there's a saying by B.F. Skinner that I taught you as well.
Skinner,
make every word tell. That's on like the binding of his book.
Yeah.
And he's like the best writer. He basically wrote children's stuff.
Wasn't he considered the father of psychology? Is that Carl Jung? I don't know.
Is it the same Skinner? Freud. I think so. Yeah, B.F. Skinner. Yeah.
Well, the B.F. Skinner's the utopian society, right?
Which, that's what we're talking about too.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Victory.
Nice way to come back around.
I know. Good way to get us there. Yeah. Victory is basically, and I should have said this in my recap, it's a utopian society that they're trying to create, where everything's perfect and everyone's happy. Like, if you've ever read the book Walden 2. Have you ever read it? Yeah. The book Walden 2, and I should know the author off the top of my head, and I can't think of it. They'll put it up.
Thoreau.
Yeah, Thoreau. And
Henry David
it's
Thoreau.
like a very easy read.
Yeah.
And it basically talks about how you can create a society where you do the job you wanted to do, that you feel you're, you know, gifted to do. That's why you were put here. And if everybody does the jobs they love, you can instead of charging money, we used to always joke about it, but
you know what's funny? Wait, I got to interject because we're going to get slammed on this.
Author-wise?
Walden 2. I think we're confusing Walden, but it's B.F. Skinner is the author. So I don't know what you're thinking of. You just went on a whole rant about B.F. Skinner.
Yeah, but what are his other books?
Well,
it's a grammatical book.
Yeah, well, we'll shorten this up and edit it. Yeah, so Walden is Henry David Thoreau.
Okay, yeah.
So that's where we mixed it up.
And it's Walden 2, T-O-O.
No.
Not Walden, T-W. Is it T-W-O?
Oh, no. Sorry. It is T-W-O.
Yeah. It's T-W-O?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I've been spelling it wrong for the last few years.
Mike's been out of school for a while.
But it sounds great. And in fact, when I was in college, I was picked to go to Mexico, where they had a community, a utopian community that was based on Walden 2. And I was really excited to interview people and talk to them. It gets canceled the last minute, and I was off to Japan or China. I wound up going to China.
Yeah.
So to study politics. And who do I bump into? President Bush. First President Bush.
That's right. That's the trip where he got sick.
No, that was in Japan.
That was in Japan. Okay.
This was in Cheyenne.
Because you were there.
Yeah, this was in Cheyenne, China.
Yeah.
Where I met him, and I have a couple pictures somewhere.
It's kind of interesting because as you describe that, it's almost what this movie was. It's like they were trying to create a movie that was much more appealing than what really lied underneath, or what lay underneath.
Utopian.
Yeah,
darling.
And Chris Pine plays this character Frank, who he's basically like a cult leader.
What are we doing?
Changing the world.
What are we doing?
Changing the world.
That's right. I look around, I see another reason why I'm here. Once unfamiliar faces, strangers, one and all, now one brave family.
Is right. I came across that.
He's the head of the community.
Right.
Victory.
Yeah.
That's the thing. No matter when you start talking about utopia and the perfect society, there still has to be people that make decisions. And whether you do it as a group, it always comes down to like one guy has to be we're going this way, right?
And that was him.
Yeah.
That was him. Well, Rotten Tomatoes, this is interesting. So we'll go through some of the ratings. So as of this recording anyways, 38% from the critics. So that's about in line with where we are, probably.
I would say.
And 74% from the audience. Now, is that the Harry Styles bump?
It's got to be. What about Metascore? Is that the Metascore you're telling me?
48.
Wow, that's much higher than I thought.
Oh, really? Yeah, 48. Yeah.
I would say 38 would be.
It could be as of today, but in fact, I just had it open. Let's see, because that should be right here in the IMDb app, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See if I can pull that up.
Yeah, the Metascore. I think it's in green.
But that was another thing that. Not 48.
It is 48.
Yeah, 48.
I'm surprised. Probably about this episode.
And I think we've said Olivia Wilde is in the film too. And also Frank, his wife in the film, Shelley, is played by Gemma Chan, who I had mentioned in one of the recent episodes, because we were trying to recall some characters from the Eternals, and she
Yeah,
was in
she
the
was in the
Eternals.
Eternals,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I don't remember her character, but
And again, there was some good performances in it, but they were
I
just
didn't
in
have
a
a problem
film
with
that
the acting at all.
no.
In fact, Florence Pugh I thought was really good,
She was
and
good.
she was in Black Widow, like you said. She played the sister,
Mhm.
which was almost a bigger role than Black Widow.
And isn't that is that coming back in another Black Widow film, or she's coming back in something?
Yeah, she'll be back in
Yeah.
the MCU. She's basically going to be replacing her sister,
Right. Right.
So
Yeah,
no,
it was a shame because I said Joe McDoakes at the onset of the conversation, but it was probably
where did
halfway
that
through,
come from?
about
Like,
halfway
give
through.
us, without spoiling, what are some of the like obvious
I
little.
don't think I even can without.
You're talking about the overall picture. You knew where it was headed.
I just knew where it was going. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew what the reveal was going to be.
For me,
Basically.
all throughout the movie,
Mhm.
there are these tells, that, which is a poker term,
Yeah.
where people were giving away what was coming next.
Mhm.
If you have a tell and you're playing poker and you get like 3 aces and your eyes go like this,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
a tell to
that's
the
why
other
they're always
players.
wearing those ridiculous cataract sunglasses when they're playing
Correct.
Texas
But,
Hold'em.
like,
And
the simplest thing. Remember the movie Rounders? He used to,
Ed
rub his
Norton and
Oreo. Yeah.
Matt
But
Damon.
but it was the big actor who used to rub his Oreo cookies.
I don't remember. I haven't seen it.
John Malkovich. John Malkovich.
Oh, is it John Malkovich?
Yeah. He
Okay.
played a Russian
Yeah.
mafia guy that was
Yeah.
a big time gambler
Yeah.
and a money guy.
And listen, we were talking about the acting performances. Styles,
he's fine.
great.
Everything, he
definitely
was
got
in
chops.
Dunkirk, which I put up. You
Oh,
can't
that's right. I
tell
forgot.
what it is. It's right there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
It was a small part, but it was good.
In Dunkirk. Yeah. But
And
no, he
he's
was really
in the
good.
MCU,
Mhm.
right? Isn't he the
He
younger
is in the
brother
MCU.
of
Loki or something?
No, isn't it Thanos?
Maybe
He's
I
like
can't remember.
Thanos's
You know
kid
me, I'm a
brother.
one and done, and I'm
Yeah.
out. I don't
Yeah.
hang on to the mythology or whatever the storylines. There was somebody, let's see, Alice, which is Florence Pugh's character.
Mhm.
As you said, she was good. There's some, without giving anything away, there are some big reveals towards the latter part of the film and the arc of these characters, particularly her and Harry Styles' character, Jack.
Yeah. And there's things in it that are so unnecessary. Like,
did you remember who's the guy that played Dr. Collins, who is basically this Victory Project Community's doctor?
Correct.
Right. He was in, I'm bringing this up because in the last episode I talked about
Veep.
Veep. He was in Veep.
Yeah.
He was in all the seasons of Veep. And what is his name?
Yeah.
Let me look him
He
up.
played like her.
Timothy Simons.
Yeah, he plays
Timothy
her
Simons.
like what do you call opposite or
Yeah, there's Timothy Simons right there.
Wow, see, he doesn't look like him because of the mustache.
Right. But yeah, that's
But you'd know him. He's in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
Nick Kroll was in this. Nick Kroll is a very well-known comedian. He played The Husbands. You recognize Nick Kroll?
Yeah.
He was in that.
The scene I was talking about that was so and this happens a lot through this movie. They do something, right? They set it up. It would be like a comedian getting on stage
and not paying
doing
it
a big
off.
setup and not hitting the punchline.
Right.
And one scene that they tried to pay it off but didn't was they go to the boss's house for this big party. And everybody's invited to Frank's house.
Chris Pine, yeah.
Frank is like a god to some of these guys, Frank
Mhm.
said it. It's got to be right. So they go to Frank's house, and it's, this beautiful place. And Harry Styles and Florence Pugh are in the kitchen, and they can't, again, through the whole movie, they can't keep their hands off each other. So they start having sex in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Frank
Well,
pokes his head in.
they're in his bedroom.
Or were they in his bedroom?
They're in his bedroom, yeah.
So he pokes his head in and sits there and watches them, and then locks eyes with Florence Pugh.
Mhm.
Doesn't react at all. Just keeps
Mhm.
going. Like, okay, Frank's here, but I guess that's normal. But they tried to pay it off at the kitchen table, where he makes a comment to her about, what's it like being in my bed or something like that. But
Mhm.
you would think that would set up something to put Styles against
Mhm.
Frank.
Right.
But no, there was
Right.
nothing.
Right.
And there was a lot of moments like that.
Yeah, there's a critical moment in the relationship between Harry Styles and Florence Pugh's characters that I think was intended to be this, oh my God, run out of the
Right,
theater and
right.
tell all your friends you got to see this. And I'm like, and I knew, I'm like, they're gonna do, yeah, they did it.
And the big,
That's how I felt.
a lot of it was foreshadowing, right?
Foreshadowing,
Like
yeah.
they're having an argument,
Mhm.
cut to a random glass on the table, and then they're back to the argument. Geez, I wonder if he's, she's going to pick that glass up and whack him over the head with it.
Right. Perhaps.
Like,
yeah.
come on. That's like the ice pick.
Now, do you recognize this?
Is that
So
their house?
that I
It looks like my
believe,
old place.
I think it's Frank's house.
Yeah.
It's called the Kaufman House. Now, I was not familiar with it. The Kaufman Desert House, or simply the Kaufman House, is a house in Palm Springs, California, that was designed by architect Richard Neutra in 1946. It was commissioned by Edgar J. Kaufman Sr., who was a businessman who also commissioned Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was like a big major deal for them to be able to film.
It's been in a lot of movies, though.
Right. So
like
again, part of the aesthetics,
There was a cliff. I don't know if there's really a cliff next to the pool, but I know there was a movie. Jack Nicholson was in it. I can't think of the name of it.
Was it called The Cliff by the Pool?
It was called Somebody's Gonna Fall Off the Cliff, because we just showed it.
It's called Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So all right. So I mean,
there we go.
It's funny though. We're in agreement with not really loving the film.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna like it. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, and then I wondered. I said, "Well, I don't like it, so now I wonder if he's gonna like it." I just didn't know where you were gonna be on.
Like I said, the first hour, I think it did a good job of building up tension.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious, but by the end of that first hour, we knew.
Mm-hmm.
She had foreshadowed so many things.
And I think you nailed it. It was almost like it was a class in like a directing 101 class.
Right. Look at
these are all the things that you've got to put in.
Correct.
That are classic elements of directing, and
there was
like these Busby Berkeley sequences with the overhead shots with the dancers and
the legs going
in unison, like synchronized dancing and stuff.
And it's not like, somebody like my friend Orson Welles, who did things out of necessity, like
that became completely innovative, and he pioneered.
Correct. And I always think of the dance sequence where he's dancing with girls on the stage, and there's lights around there, and they wanted to film it from below, and they just didn't have. So he
cut a hole in the floor. Put the camera in the floor.
Right. And it was like one of the lights.
And there's great shots of that.
In the extras.
Yeah, there's great. I'm sure that the guys could probably put that up on the screen, a shot of Wells in that hole in the floor where shooting up with the camera. But
But it wasn't something
Yeah.
he was doing to try to be clever. He did it because there was no other way to get the shot at the time.
Right.
Now they
Yeah.
have all sorts of cameras. Imagine Orson Welles with a lipstick camera.
Yeah.
What he could
What
do
he could
with
do.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, it's trying to be innovative and show us something we haven't seen before. I'm sure
Right.
that's no small feat, but
Not
this
and
was a
I
very familiar look.
right. And I
to the
think I've
film.
said to you before, if you notice the directing too much, there's a problem.
You have said that, yeah. Yeah,
You
no,
know.
you're right. You're right.
So
Well, it's yeah. I don't know. What are we? Is it 2 thumbs down from old brother on Don't Worry,
I would
Darling?
say avoid it.
I mean, if you're we know we're not appealing to the Harry Styles fans because they're going to see
Right.
it
They're
no
gonna
matter
love
what.
it.
All right. Well, listen. Don't worry, darling. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, don't worry if you miss it.
Yeah, don't worry, darling, if you missed this film. Nothing else to say there, but hey, I do want to say this before we wrap, which is if you're not currently following the podcast, make sure that you do. And of course, one of the easiest ways to do that is to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com, ohbpodcast.com. Also, for those of you that have already subscribed to the YouTube channel, many thanks. We appreciate it. Just picked up another subscriber. And is there an easier way to find us on YouTube now too, which is just go to youtube.com/@obrotherpodcast.com and you subscribe, like our videos out there. And that really does help get the podcast out to more and more people.
And if you just get one person to subscribe, it'll put us in the hundreds and hundreds of
I thought you were going into
subscribers.
some sort of pyramid scheme conversation there. You get one person and then they get 5 people to subscribe.
By the way, I was set, I had like an old
You got the old brother shirt on.
This isn't a logo, is it? What do we use?
It was a logo.
For?
It's the spotlights.
Yeah, but
yeah. And we have a mug with that on it.
Did we? I don't know if we ever used it, but
yeah,
we
did.
I tried to have shirts made. I was going to send you one as a surprise.
It was for Patreon.
Yeah, I was going to send you the new logo. Oh, the new logo. I don't know why. You can't see it on my screen.
No, you're pointing to it like people
I'm pointing to the screen where I can see it.
Yeah, that's
no one else can. But I was going to have the new logo put on a polo shirt and send it to you.
Yeah.
And I ordered it, and a couple days later, they canceled, and they said, we can't do this.
Do it, right.
And I was wondering, are you still in touch with that guy?
Who's that?
Yeah, the guy who made the logo.
Oh yeah.
See if he can send you, like, wipe out everything but you and I.
Oh, I have that already. I have that.
Then send that to me.
Okay, yeah, I have that.
And maybe I think they might be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, listen, so you can also find us out on Instagram, very active out there at OHB Podcast. And
Dan always replies very quickly.
I try to, yeah. And on YouTube too. Love when people comment and share their feedback and interact with people out there. That's always fun too. So
I like the
Twitter.
hate comments.
I don't know, man. Twitter.
It might be time to go.
I just can't stand. I think I at least have to turn off notifications because it's just I'm getting all the bile and all of the nonsense from this way and that way, and I can't deal with it. So
did you see his latest email? I don't even think it's legal. And I worked in employment law when I worked for a law
I'm not talking about Elon Musk specifically. It's just Twitter in general. It's just like it's a hot mess. It's a hot mess.
It is, but he's not helping it.
No.
I mean, he fired half the company.
Some people love it.
He sent out an email, right, that says, if you still want to work here, I don't know why Grogu's coming into the picture, but if you still want to work here, click yes. It's almost like when you were a kid and you sent the note to a girl, do you like me? Check one of these boxes. Yes, no. So he sends out this company-wide email that says, if you want to work here, click yes. If not, click no, and you'll get 3 months pay and benefits for 3 months. I think Luke is agreeing to work at
Well,
Twitter.
I was going to say, Funkos can't say no, can they? All
I
they can
think
say
he's
is yes.
saying
I think
yes
he's
to
saying
it.
yes. Yeah.
But I don't think that's legal as far as
I don't know. This has been
you
way
know.
too much. This isn't Law and Order. This is the Old Brother podcast. So
but
yeah. Let's spare the
I
folks
had
any
to,
more of that.
given my
chit-chat.
background, I had to bring that up.
Yeah. Okay.
Had
Fair,
to.
fair point. All right. So
I
listen,
paid a lot of money to learn that.
You did. Listen, before we sign off this episode, by the time you are listening to this, we will be just on the eve of Thanksgiving. Can you let
him
it
fly?
Mike's swatting flies. He's combing his hair. He's got no respect for his own podcast.
My
I got to tell
hair's
you, folks,
out of control.
we are currently auditioning for a co-host. So if you know anybody, send it to ohbpodcast@gmail.com.
I would like to see some. Bring somebody else in.
Maybe, guys, can you maybe clean that up a little bit in post?
Yeah, maybe that wasn't the best way to say
there
that.
was a couple of I didn't even comment early on. There was a few innuendos in this double entendres that
if somebody wanted to isolate that and send
yes,
it out,
exactly. I'd have a field day.
Maybe Trump Jr. would
Howard
send it out
Stern's
with,
guys would have a field day with that.
with a pair of my
Sal.
grunts.
All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Yo Brother Podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.